We're back with another edition of the official Catchup podcast. It's me, Ben, and I'm joined, as ever, by Mr. Chris Pow. Chris, how are we doing?
Yeah, not bad. I was just saying to you, obviously, I always feel like it's probably a stupid idea for me to go out just before we record this because I get back in the house and I'm, absolutely freezing. So I always have to wear the big jacket and the beanie. The beanie's obviously any weather, really. Yeah, I've been wearing it, summer sometimes,
I
some
can't
days.
remember the last time I seen your hair, to be honest,
I
Chris.
know.
You and
I,
Mozza were always hat guys. I was never a hat guy. I'm still clinging on to this hairline just before and no more. But plenty to talk about, I'm sure, within all the different tiers of non-league football within Scotland, and we'll start as ever with the Lowland League. And there was a full card on Saturday. We start with South Straws 0, Bonus United 0. Dropped points probably as far as I'm concerned for Civil, but decent point for Bonus away.
yeah, I think there's not really much to talk about on a 0-0 draw. I don't think Civil have been in the best form, obviously. I think the big news out of there is obviously they lost Big Alou Faye to Bonnyrigg Rose. I actually thought it was a wee bit of a strange move just because I never imagined the big man moving from Strollers. He obviously knows, Gary very well and he's kind of always been a sort of key player for Strollers. So you never really expect the move, but Bonnyrigg, as Robbie Horn and the guys there will know, that he's such a unique player. He's a big man, but he's got two good feet. He can play on the wing. I used the word unique for him, and obviously I got a few comments. Kyle Fee's former teammate, like, yeah, unique's a very good word to describe him because he's a bit of a character. Apparently, I don't know Big Alou Faye well as some of the other lads in the league or that were in the league, I should say. But no, it's a great move for him. It's great to see him, getting his move up. And obviously Bonnyrigg, we've kind of touched on Bonnyrigg. They kind of had a bit of a revamp lately. A lot out, a lot in. Obviously fighting for their lives in the SPFL at the moment. Alou give them a wee bit of a different option. He's, as I say, he's not an old-fashioned target man. He's something a wee bit different, and I think he'll be hard to handle in League Two, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's a good signing for me for Bonnyrigg. It's a guy that they'll know, as you say, well enough that, and they need to do something to try and change their fortunes. And if they can get him in and get him scoring, then it'll certainly help them. For Civil, I think it's a massive loss. I think.
Yeah.
What do they do next? They're going to need to probably try and plug that gap. We've seen it with the likes of EK losing Cammy Elliott. Not really seeing that maybe the goals coming in as much as they did when they had Cammy in the team. So certainly the importance of having a striker in the team is massive. I think to anyone who's wanting to challenge and get into that kind of playoff spot, I guess, or league winning spot if it has to be. So I think obviously Civil, I think we'll still have kind of one eye on that. Probably got a lot to do to get into that spot for me now, but certainly they'll be looking to that. If they can get someone in, which I'm sure they'll do, because I don't imagine Alou Faye will not be went for free. There'll be imagine there's some sort of transfer fee involved there. They'll maybe be able to go and replace him and get someone else in. So it'll be interesting to watch, certainly from Civil's perspective, what they do next. Next one then, Dalbeattie Star 1, University of Stirling 6. Probably I would say a routine result for Uni, given where Dalbeattie are in the table, their performances, nothing's changed about Dalbeattie over the last, in fact, full season now. It's one of those things, I think we alluded to it a few weeks ago, the fact that they're looking probably at the game against Edinburgh Uni to really be a kind of a winner takes all kind of relegation fight. I can't see either of those teams picking up results. Great to see, obviously, University of Stirling picking up a few goals. Obviously, they all came off a decent performance, I felt, against Dundee United in the Cup. I actually watched a bit of that game, and they looked good in spells in that match against Dundee United, and certainly matched them. And I think it was probably just experience in that game that took over, and Dundee United managed to obviously get the victory, but they gave a good account of themselves. And for me, I think about Uni is there's no reason why they can't be in that kind of promotion discussion. I don't see how that's. People obviously talk about the Uni teams, and we've had this before about how they're kind of The students and the uni and all this kind of thing. I think I noticed that in the commentary for the Dundee United game, that they kept referring to them as the students, and I felt that gave them a bit of a disservice, like we've always talked about. And but I don't see any reason why they can't get promoted.
Yeah, there was actually someone on the group chat. I've got a group chat with the sort of FM researchers, and he was basically asking that, what would happen if Stirling Uni got, into the SPFL, and I'd be like, well, there'd be no change really. I mean, I would assume they would still have the reserve side in the East of Scotland and whatnot. I mean, technically, any East of Scotland side that's still a member, obviously your Hearts, your Hibs could probably still have a reserve side in that league. So I don't think anything much would change in terms of the format if they were to get there. Whether they do or not, I think it's probably a good match to play just after the Cup, because they do have a lot of hard games coming up. I don't think you'll mind me saying, but I was kind of chatting to Chris a wee bit just before doing the usual. I've not spoke to Chris actually in a wee while, but no, I think you're right. I think they played well against Dundee United, but against a Prem team, it's always going to be difficult, even the younger lads, obviously. But yeah, a lot of hard games coming up. It'll be a real test to Stirling Uni. Obviously, congratulations for them for winning the Bucks third time in a row, which is pretty much unheard of in uni football, especially the sort of top division that they're in. So, congratulations. I think the last time we spoke on the podcast, we said whether that would be kind of a main focus for them. But I don't think we've seen a real drop-off this year like we have when they've had the Bucks, which is incredible, really, considering the amount of games they play. But when you look at, obviously, Dalbeattie, they're still trying to get players in. I've seen a few transfers that have interested me, but they all seem sort of midfielders, attackers. Obviously, David Cox coming out of retirement again, but they really probably need to look at their defence as well and see if they can get like a few decent defenders in. I think they're sort of loanies. I think they've already got 4 in, so it's going to be difficult. It's not looking good for Dalbeattie. But in terms of Stirling, obviously you've got James Stokes, Cammy McKinley, Jason Jarvis, Ben Heel, and James Berry on the score sheet. So that's kind of what we've been used to with Stirling Uni. There's always been a good range of goal scorers when they are hitting the target, obviously, because that has been an issue previously with Stirling Uni. But excellent result to come off. But Celtic B coming up, I think midweek. So. Or midweek next week. A lot of hard games coming up for Stirling Union. It'll be a real test of where they will end up in at the final hurdle, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, they're still in that conversation. Though, 51 points. There's 3 points splitting the teams from 5th to 1st, and obviously it's going to be between, I think, Tyrone Spartans and Stirling Union out for that promotion spot. Whether or not it's a league win or it's a via nominated champion club, like we've discussed before. I think I've said about Rangers being Celtic B since the start of the season. Rangers B still have so many games in hand that probably for me, I don't see how they don't win the league. Personally, I think the games in hand are so important, but I guess there's that like a points on the board mentality. Rangers B, Celtic B might be chopping and changing their squad. That might have affected. They might just open the door for a team like Stirling Uni, who are settled and they've got a team that are not going to change. They're going to be able to go at it. They'll be obviously training full time like we know they do, and they've got that settled squad. And with the Bucks thing, we always wondered about that, like you said, but they obviously won that in what seems like record time. So I'd assumed the Bucks season would go on for another good bit. It's only January we're talking about here, and they've won the league, so that will help. I think absolutely help them because they can play the reserves and they can play maybe more prospect players rather than playing the first team guys in that Bucks league and leave them fresh for the Lowland League, certainly. Next one then, East Kilbride 2, Celtic B 2. It's a difficult one, I think, for East Kilbride. It feels to me like they're a team that have dropped off and they're out of it. I just don't see how. Obviously, they'll be wanting to win or get promoted, but the way they're playing now and the way their form is, I just feel I don't see where that comes from personally, Chris.
Yes, it was a tough game. Obviously, Kyle Connell getting his debut, the man that's basically there to replace.
For me, that.
Yeah, it's weird though, Ben, because I tend to keep an eye on guys coming down as well as going up, and he's not a player that I'm that familiar with. But obviously, a brace on his debut. I mean, you can't really complain. But Celtic B are such a strong side. We talk about Rangers. I think Rangers are falling away a wee bit, but Celtic B are just just as likely to potentially be up there. I think they've got a couple of games in hand over Trinent and one over Spartans, and I think if they win them both, obviously they overtake. I think Rangers have one more game in hand over Celtic B, so it becomes really interesting. But Joey Dawson, we've spoken about him a lot lately. He's still firing almost every game. Ben Summers is doing well. The guy Ben Quinn, the young Irish boy, has been fantastic for me over the last few games. Team of the month, kind of right winger, left winger. I think he can play both wings, but I guess if you're looking at EK again, it goes back to what we said probably in the last podcast. It's not really down to them now. They can only get results and hope for the best. But when you've got Spartans firing, they're playing the sort of lower sides now. I'm not expecting these teams to really drop any points now. And East Kilbride are probably going to need a miracle at this point to win the league, basically.
Yeah, I think you're going to look back on the results against the likes of Cumbernauld Colts and Broomhill and things like that the last couple of weeks that really pulled them out of that. Celtic B, obviously a hard game. We know that. They're a great side. And we always hope for East Kilbride, I think. We always see them as a team that we probably want to win. Certainly from myself, coming from a kind of West background, they're not a conventional West of Scotland team, but they are in the West. And that would always be one of my horses in the race and wanting to see a team do well. But it just seems like the status quo for EK. They don't seem to be able to get that consistency going. We've talked about in the past where they start poorly and give themselves a mountain to climb, or they finish strongly, or they start well and have a poor middle. And this is a long protracted period of time where they're having a poor spell, and you can't do that in this league. You've got to be on it from game 1 to game 30 or whatever it is they play. Obviously, the turnover in the players is probably not going to help. Losing, we've mentioned Cammy already, but Cammy Elliott leaving is a massive hole. João Victoria's left as well. He's went to Drumchapel. Drumchapel must be minted at the moment, obviously given their Scottish Cup exploits, but didn't be about the bush there in terms of going in and getting a quality player.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's becoming a meme at a point that I choose EK almost every season to win the league. But when I look at the quality of the team, I mean, they should be up there. They should be fighting. But we've talked about it before, but the past few seasons, they've had a slow start. And obviously it's flipped around this season where it's kind of they're having a slow sort of latter stage of the season. But I don't know if it's complacency or what it is. I know Cammy obviously was injured and they were missing him big time sort of a few months ago. And João Victoria, it's weird about João. I never even mentioned him when I was talking about potential guys to step up and take that place. I don't actually know whether he's dropped off or what the situation was there, that he's moved on to Drumchapel. But good signing for them, obviously. But I just think it's a bit of a strange one, EK. And I really like the club. I've always kind of liked the club, and they've had really quality teams over the last few years. And you think the last time they won the Lowland League was under Stuart Malcolm, 2018. It becomes a long time, since they won it, and it doesn't look likely that they're going to win it this season. So it's another failure, I guess. It's the only way to describe it if they don't get that, because that is their aim. I mean, as a East Kilbride, I think every season that is their aim, and obviously managers becomes a bit of a merry-go-round where they don't achieve it, whether it's right or wrong. Sometimes I feel like the board can be a wee bit. They can cut ties a wee bit too quick. We saw it a wee bit with Chris Aitken, but I don't know whether it's right or wrong. I'm not sure, but. I'd be interested to see what happens towards the end of the season if there will be a managerial change. We like Kev, I like Bill. I don't know what it is. I honestly don't know. Should they be doing better? I would say so, but the league's getting tougher. Look, Trinent, ex-junior side, we've seen the likes of Bonnyrigg and Kelty come in the league and absolutely dominate. Spartans look like they've hit they're a wee bit like the old Spartans, where they're going to be a top team. We have, Stirling Uni doing really well as well. So, and then obviously the Colt side. So it's a lot of competition compared to what it used to be, I think, in the Lowland League, and it's the same throughout non-league. If you win a league, I think it's truly well and deserved nowadays.
Yeah, and it's only going to get tougher. I think that's the
Yeah.
other thing we think about here is one of Darvel or Linlithgow Rose are coming up. As far as we're concerned, next season, and they are a top side, and we've seen both of them in action. I'm sure we'll cover those in more detail just shortly. But yeah, I don't know where EK go from here. For me, as you said, we both like Kevin Rukovitz, the manager, but EK do have a tendency to get rid when they don't get what they want. But for me, I think you have to stick with him for a bit longer and go again next season. Build on the squad he's brought in, because obviously quite a few players come in the summer alongside him, and it's obviously not going to have worked out. I don't think for me. I mean, we're talking about they do have a couple of games in hand, but even at that, it's still a big ask. I think they're that same boat as civil service trolls, where they'll still believe in themselves that they can do it, but there's a lot to go and to actually get there, be given what's in front of them.
I think just on that, obviously I mentioned favourites, EK being predominantly my favourites over the last few years. I think whoever comes up from the west or east, be it Darvel or Linlithgow Rose at the moment, I think they're right up there. I think I probably look at them as being the favourites. Both clubs have a wee bit of money, a wee bit of support. Linlithgow Rose,
a wee bit of money.
Well, Darvel have a lot of money, but Linlithgow Rose have a wee bit of money, and they're well backed, and they've got a great support as well. So it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough, and it's going to just get tougher and tougher. If it was two teams coming up, I think it would be even more horrible for Lowland League teams, or more worrying for the sort of bottom sides, if you will.
Yeah, I think we'll touch on that at the end of the Lowland League section. Certainly, I think there's a lot to discuss on that front. But we'll carry on with the matches in hand. And the next one then, East Lanarkshire 1, Berwick Rangers 4. First one in is it 3 for first one in 4 for Berwick Rangers. Again, like we've talked before, in the middle of the pack, just kind of ticking over their season, not really doing much. But I mean, always nice to get a victory on the board. East Lanarkshire obviously bringing in Sandy Clark. It's been no wins in 4 now for them, and they're probably fortunate that Edinburgh Uni and Dalbeattie are so bad that not in that relegation discussion now.
Yeah, Berwick made me eat my words a wee bit in this match, because all 3 of their strikers got goals when I often moan about them not maybe scoring enough. I don't think Berwick have been playing that badly. I think the last couple of draws, and I think all kind of loss before that. But Liam Buchanan scoring, Lewis Allen scored, Lewis Baker as well got a penalty. So that's all 3 of their main sort of threats forward. Graham Taylor, I think, has been playing well. I've added him in the team of the month. But I don't think Berwick have been playing badly. I think it's just the last couple of results were draws, and then they had a loss, and then before that they were. Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's really about consistency. You need a really good run of wins. You kind of feel a wee bit bad for East Lanarkshire at the moment, because it looked like Sandy Clark was the answer to begin with. Results immediately improved, but now, I mean, they lost Kenny Barr, who's a key player, really good, done the dirty work type of midfielder. He's obviously moved to Pollok, and he's a really good signing for Pollok, in my opinion. So very underrated in a lot of ways. You didn't see him a lot, probably in like the team of the months, the team of the seasons, because he's just how to describe him. He's a kind of tireless midfielder that kind of does the dirty work, kind of old style. And I really rate that signing from Pollok. I don't know who's been watching them, East Lanarkshire, but we kind of worried about that a wee bit, Ben, that maybe Shire would have a few more losses coming into this sort of period in the transfer window, but they've kind of kept the team together, other than Kenny Barr, who was kind of well loved at Shire as well. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any more that go out. But it's a bad result for them, but a really decent result for Berwick. But again, Berwick need to march on and get more results like that, I would say. Next one then,
Galliford 1, Cumbernauld Colts 0. Again, another game that really doesn't excite me in any way, really. It's another win for Gala. Cumbernauld again, team in that middle of the pack, they're just kind of seeing out their season for me now.
Yeah, I think the big news there was obviously Ben Hurdman being a part of the squad for the first time in over a year. Obviously, when he's been out injured, and he's always been a kind of the heart of the Gala defence. He's had his operation, and he's recovered well from a year and 6 months he was out. I think it was at the start of early last season. I think probably opening game that he got injured. So amazing to see Ben back. I really like Ben. He's a really good guy, and obviously there was a lot of sort of funding at the time for him to get his surgery. Recovery's been long and hard, but really good to see him a part of the team sheet at Gala. I think as for the game, Gala, another weird one actually. I mean, obviously they got the result against Celtic B, the win over them, which was fantastic, and they've kind of been under the radar a wee bit. They're actually doing not too badly. Against Colts, you'd probably say that was probably a closer game, but I think it was a Gareth Roger header that was the difference there. But yeah, big shout out to Ben Hurdman, obviously coming back. Fair play to Gala, it's a really decent result. But again, I'd like to see them push now, whether they can or not. I think it's really hard at this period in time when there's probably teams that know they've nothing to play for, and it's really hard to keep the consistency. They need that extra motivation, even if it's chasing the top half or whatever. But I think it's hard to motivate players for coaches, managers, and obviously themselves if we're at this point in the season and it looks like they're probably not going to win anything.
That's it. I think we'll talk about the structure and things like that, but the structure of the Lowland League doesn't help. I think a lot of the time with that, with one team going up and one team getting relegated, it doesn't give you any fire in your belly if you're in that pack from 6th down to 17th in the league. It's a big old gap between the top sides and the bottom sides with nothing really to play for. So yeah, it's a shame it's like that, but we move on, and I'm sure teams like Gala and Seville, etc. will go again next season. Next one then, Hearts beat 3, Edinburgh United 0. Again, pretty much routine. I keep saying the word routine. That'll probably make the title of the podcast, I'm sure, Chris. But it's one of those ones where Edinburgh Uni are a poor side, and Hearts B are obviously a young side who are in the Lowland League for the first time and finding their way. And good experience against different sides in the Lowland League, but we don't expect anything less when Edinburgh Uni are playing. I think it's defeat after defeat, and they really expect that to change.
You're going to hate me, Ben, or certainly people listening might hate me, but I've actually grown a wee liking to Hearts B. I think I know. I think they're doing really well. If you look at the form, they've really improved. I don't know if that's just they're getting to their stride now. As we know, it's a younger squad. You're talking maybe 16, 17, 18-year-olds compared to the older lads of Celtic and Rangers B. But one boy that has caught my attention is Mackenzie Kirk. I think he's doing really well. He got a double in that game. Murray Thomas. I mean, there's a lot of the Hearts B team that I'm really looking at and appreciating now. Whereas before I was kind of like, they're not doing that well. They're just young lads. But I think they are actually hitting their stride. Honestly, I think they're doing quite well. I'm not expecting them to be any higher than sort of mid-table, but the last 5 they've not been defeated. 3 wins, 2 draws. So really good. And Mackenzie Kirk, as I say, has been on a bit of form. I mean, if you look at the reverse fixture, which is a bit odd, I mean, that one was a home game for Hearts B, but, when they played Edinburgh Uni at Peffermill, they done them 9-0, so, a bit of an improvement there, I guess, for Edinburgh Uni, only positive, but I do worry about Edinburgh Uni now. I mean, it all comes down to that game, and I think it's in late March or April. It's right at the end of the season between Dalbeattie and Edinburgh. At Peffermill, and I'm probably going to get to that just to see how it all ends up. But to me, that could be the decider of who goes up, who stays up, and who goes down from this league.
Next one then, Spartans 5, Cali Braves 1. Spartans keeping pace at the top of the table. Got the game in hand. That's a great win in terms of putting 5 past Cali Braves, because we know Cali Braves are capable on their day, but they're a team that lack that consistency for me, and they're going through different spells. But Spartans right in amongst it, as far as I'm concerned, to be promoted.
Yeah, big loss for Caledonian Braves. Obviously, Scotty Cusack's away to Australia. Obviously, I wished him well at the time, but all the best to Scotty on his new adventure. Probably a bit of a loss for Cali Braves. I think he kind of really sort of suited in well at the club, so gutted to see him go, I would imagine. But look, Spartans are on fire at the moment. Cammy Russell, I mean, he's scoring every week. Blair Henderson's back, I think, as well. He was in amongst the scoring. Jamie Dishington, and they are looking like a team that really, really wants to go out and win this league. Whereas before, I wouldn't say I doubted it, but I needed to see it. But now they are. Now they are this team that are going to be winning every week. I don't think they've got a lot of the top teams to play. They kind of went through that spell earlier. So obviously I have a wee bit, as I say, a wee bit of a connection with the club. So I like to see them do well. Again, I'm probably a bit harsh on them sometimes. But I'm chuffed for the guys there. I think their biggest threat in terms of Lowland League clubs at the moment is certainly Trinent. Probably Stirling Uni could add to them to that. But Spartan, it's all gravy at Spartans at the moment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you probably find that Spartans maybe have got that belief now because they had that spell early in the season where they were playing the kind of so-called top sides in the league and come out of that relatively well. And you mentioned Cammy Russell. Who's fine? Is he the new Cammy Goals?
I actually feel sorry for Cammy. I put him in the team of the month. Well, one is because he deserves it. I don't usually have the sympathy of and he needs to be in the team of the month for that. But he's probably been the most unluckiest player, just because. Again, there's players in this league like Neil McLaughlin and Cammy Russell. You kind of were like, oh well, they're the obvious picks. I probably expect a wee bit more from them. But Cammy's just a phenomenal player, and it's sometimes easy to forget about these guys if we're not talking about them, or certainly they're not getting talked about. But I think he's the thing about Cammy as well. He's already won 2 Lowland League titles. Sorry, possibly 2 or 3. I forget, but potentially seen records getting broken in terms of winning 3 or 4 Lowland League titles in terms of players, because I think the record at the moment is 3. I think a lot of it was like Edinburgh City, Spartans, and then the guys at East Kilbride. Obviously, there's an exception, obviously, Cammy, and I think Craig Reid were Kelty and East Kilbride. So, potential there for new records to be broken. Trivial question for you if it changes at the end of the season.
Here we get a pub quiz question. We'll be right in amongst that. Final game then was Trinent 4, getting at 2008 0. Another team keeping pace at the top of the table. Played the most games, certainly amongst the teams at the top. But right in amongst it. Got what? I don't know, 10 games or something, 11 games left to play. It's all to play for, and amongst those 3 teams, Spartan, Stirling Uni, and obviously Trinent. But going on to them briefly, they're a team again near the bottom that are kind of safe enough and not going to challenge and just kind of do nothing. But it'll be interesting to see how Trinent go, because Cornish has got them going really well and fairly consistent. The odd dropping result against maybe like Celtic B and that one against Berwick at the start of January, but doing great things now, Trinent.
Yeah, there was a wee bit of heat in the previous fixture. I think Gretna were kind of gloating that they got a result against Trinent, if I remember correctly, and obviously Trinent fans took it well, as we know they do. So there might have been a wee bit of needle to that game, I guess. But I tell you what, full credit to Trinent. I think Darryl Healy's a genius transfer, because they did need a big man. We talked about it. Darryl Healy's a goal scorer. He was playing at Dundonald. He can play in the Lowland League, fair enough, and he's got goals in the last few games. I think I've praised them before with the fact that they got Nicky Reid and Aidan Walsh, who were such an effective partnership at Pennycook. Obviously, Aidan's got a brace, and Nicky Reid's obviously on the score sheet as well. So I don't know if it's all Colin Nish, to be honest, or if it's Stephen Hislop, or it's their scouts, or it's just people at no level. Because sometimes it's not always the managers. Sometimes it can be connections at club. Right? Oh, okay, this guy played well in the league below, or I might be wrong. Again, we go back to how well does Colin Nish know the level. I don't know I don't know. So there might be, obviously there's scouts at Trinent, Grant Forrest as well that could be in the year and saying this guy's good, blah blah blah. So I think as a whole, the coaching team, the scouts or whoever else are doing a fantastic job, because the pickups since Collins came in, it's been really great, and obviously there's been a bit of a change in. I think to give Colin credit, there's been a change in the tactical approach. I thought when they sold Jamie Docherty to Scotbride, I thought that was a bad move, but proven wrong there. So it's interesting for Trent. For Gretna, yeah, not really much to say on Gretna, unfortunately. Season's kind of petering out now. They're safe, I would say. So that's probably the only thing I can really say about Gretna at the moment. They're safe, and that's probably good for them. Another season in the Lowland League.
That concludes the roundup of the Lowland League, but we'll touch on, I think, some kind of rumours and news that we're kind of hearing about the potential structure for next season, or maybe even the season after. The suggestion is there's going to be some sort of meeting, Chris, perhaps, to discuss the potential proposal. Well, from what I understand, is that the SFA are working on a pyramid review. That was your quotes for those that are not watching on YouTube, and they're going to come back to the teams with a proposal. But there's been no involvement, certainly from what I know of, involving certainly the West of Scotland teams, which is disappointing, I think, for me, Chris. I thought that pyramid review would involve all the teams at the different level, or not all the teams, but all the leagues and the bodies at the different levels. But we've seen some rumour about League 3 and things like that, and that's kind of coming round again. And what do you think?
I mean, we've touched on it previously. Obviously, Mick Kennedy came out and tweeted. I mean, it's nothing new. We obviously give Stevie Aitken a bit of credit, but again, it's nothing new. I mean, my feelings on it are I don't think there's a proposal put forward in terms of how it would work, because certainly I feel it would probably be, if it's going to be 10, you would probably think 4 Highland, 4 Lowland, 2 Colts. I don't, unfortunately for Ben, you're not going to like hearing this, but I don't think there's, the East or West teams or South of Scotland teams, in fairness, will jump the queue. I just can't see that happening. I might be wrong, but I just, I don't think that would work. It would have to be Lowland and Highland League teams. The logistics of that is probably not great in terms of where these teams are. I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money to go up to the Highlands, 3-4 times a season. I just don't see it working. I really don't. Plus, the SFA promising things, we all know now. In fact, probably a lot of people don't, because you see some of the chat and people are just blissfully unaware, blaming the SFA on everything, and fair enough, they can take a share of the blame, but all the power should be in the SPFL's hands. And if it's anything to do with Colts teams, they're going to vote it down. So I don't see this having any weight in terms of actually being put through. I do believe there is going to be chat about it, as you said. I think Tier 5, Tier 6, you've not really heard much in Tier 6, but I do believe there is going to be a chat. I might be wrong. But yeah, there's no weight to it. If it goes to the SPFL vote, we know it's going to get voted down. There'll be, my opinion, the Colts will probably be back in the Lowland League next season for more money, more this, more that. I don't know how it's going to work, but the SFA are going to push so hard for Rangers and Celtic to have a place within the league. And people don't like that, but it's where we are at the moment. But I think they're going back in the Lowland League. I really do. We've heard it all before. Oh, it's one season. It's just a trial thing. Oh, we'll welcome them back. The SFA will turn around and say, oh, we'll have another pyramid review. Lowland League clubs will fall for it again, and we'll have the Colts back in the league again. It would be my opinion if there's not going to be a League 3. And to be honest, there shouldn't be a League 3. And I'll tell you why. Because 10 teams in the Championship, the League 1 and League 2 is ridiculous. If they're going to... Why add another tier? Put 12 teams. Put them up to 12 at least. You know what I mean? Put Champo at 12, and that's 6 teams. 3 Highland, 3 Lowland League teams in League 2. I mean, that's sensible to me, but I don't know. Yeah.
It'll be interesting you mentioned it. Obviously, I would like to hear about the West and East, but I would assume they would probably go to application. I don't imagine it'll be there on merit. I think it'll be down to like who the SPFL won. I don't think it'll be as cut and dry as all right. We'll take
How do you judge that though? I mean, you could say, "Oh, we'll take
a business, isn't it?" So it'll be like, well, look at the teams that you think bring the most to the league, and I'm not for a second advocating that's Colin Rangers or anything like that, but there'll be teams in the West, for example, or the East that probably have got a lot more to offer than some of the Lowland League teams. I'm not going to get a big debate about that, but that'll maybe be where the SPFL will be at if they're looking to bring in this League 3. I'm all in agreement with you that I don't think it works. I just expand the current divisions that we have to, like you say, 12 or even maybe 16. You go as far as 16 would work, I think, just as well for me. Or better still, do something absolutely radical and regionalise the whole kind of SPFL below, I don't know, league, but maybe even below the championship. Because we've seen it. We'll talk about Darvel just shortly, but we've seen teams in the East and West taking on league sides in the last few weeks and months and holding their own, and there's no doubt that those teams can do that. So maybe do it that way. But yeah, I think we're at the point where it's false promises, and we'll probably get something that nobody really likes, and it'll just be the status quo. And I think you're right. I expect to see Celtic B, Rangers B, probably Hearts B in the Lowland League next season.
The problem, you take the Colts aside, obviously, guys like, the Steny chairman's always been, he's very vocal about being opposed for the Colts to be in the SPFL, and I think that's the majority feeling with most chairmen, in the Championship, League 1, League 2. The problem is 42 clubs in the SPL do not want to share anything with more clubs, so you're never going to get 50 or 60 or 70 teams in a SPFL because they want to keep their money. It's that simple. I mean, some of the West and East and Lowland teams have better draws, better crowds than League 2 teams. They need that money to survive, so they're not going to give it up easily. So either if it was Colts or not, I mean, they're not going to be like, all right, we'll share another 5% or whatever, another team or whatever it would be, So yeah, so there's money involved. Obviously, money rules the world. So.
Certainly, if we do end up with a League 3, we will just stand and applaud Steve Aiken.
Great a visionary.
T-shirts and all sorts with Stevie's face on it, because he saw that. He was years ahead of us all in that respect. But moving on, then we'll cover off what happened in the East of Scotland and the West of Scotland as always. First one that jumps out in a win for Greenfield Swifts, 2-0 against Inverkeithing Hillfield Swifts in the East Scotland Prem.
Yeah, good to get back to winning ways for Greenfield. Obviously, it's not been in. I wouldn't say they've not been in the best of forms, but certainly they've had a few shock results recently. I would expect them still to beat Inverkeithing. I think we praised them a wee bit. When I think they only lost 1-0 to Longlow. So Greenfield are a good side. I think they're probably better at home than they are away in some respects. So it's always tough to go to Greenfield and try and get a result, but always a top side. And it's good to see them back to winning ways. Whether or not, I think we're at a stage in the East of Scotland, probably getting there with the West, where it's like it's going to be really tough for these teams to get back into. I mean, Longlow running away with it. They just have to keep winning. Don't drop any daft points, and see what happens. But it's going to be really tough.
Obviously, talking about teams at the top, Linlithgow Rose winning 3-1 against Hillbeath Hawthorns. Linlithgow doing Linlithgow do. Just getting results and keeping away. They're 15 points clear. I said it before, I don't see that changing. It has to be something absolutely cataclysmic for them to not win this league, and it'll be up to that playoff match then to see if they can get promoted. Elsewhere, it was Musselburgh 7, Oakley United 0, Blackburn United 1, Haddington 2, Sauchie 1, Broxburn 0, Pennycook 1, Crossgates 1, and Tynecastle 1, the Don Bluebell 3.
Yeah, good one for Sauchie over a decent Broxburn side. I did notice our good friend Adam, the football nomad, took up hospitality at Sauchie. Looked amazing. We've not really touched on soccer recently, actually.
I've had plenty in the last
They've had,
previous episodes. I think we've done them plenty. Chris, come on.
So Adam, I think Socky kind of similar to Mozza is that his home team club at the moment until obviously Tullabody come about. But
Mozza's got his new hometown club, hasn't he? Tullabody St Serves.
So
interesting.
Yeah, I need that. Hospitality looked fantastic. Hopefully Adam enjoyed his day on Socky. Yeah, I need
Is
to get
that
over
a hint,
to Socky.
Chris? Is that like a hint to this?
Yeah, no, I need to go over to Socky. I don't think I've ever been to Socky that I remember. So I'll let the boys know and hopefully get things sorted. But yeah, in terms of the other East of Scotland, obviously Musselburgh had a few changes. I think we talked about George Hunter and Bob Wilson going there from Bonnyrigg, so they're splashing the cash, I guess, to get to really put a charge on. I think they're probably looking at next season. Pennycook drawn with Crossgates, not ideal. Pennycook have a wee bit of free fall recently, not had the greatest of results, and obviously that's a massive help to Linlithgow if the likes of Genefield and Pennycook are dropping points, because that gap from 15 points will just get wider, in my opinion, to 18 to 21, to eventually the fact that they're going to win the league. Called it early, but yeah, I don't see anyone. Was it 15? So 5 games they would have to lose. I mean, that's just not. That's just. Yeah, I think I could try. Lose half their team. I guess I don't know how that one would work.
Suspensions would have to kick in or something, and injuries and things like that would make it a bit more difficult, certainly for them. But I just don't see they're a great side, and obviously they're still in cup competitions as well. They obviously bowed out the Scottish Cup at the weekend to Wraith Rovers.
Yeah, there was there was a weird, dodgy goal decision there. I've not actually seen it, but everyone was kicking off.
No VAR in it. I find it obviously. I think I just touch on it briefly. The Scottish Cup, that it's strange that VAR can be in play if a club is prepared to pay for it. I find that fascinating that that's allowed to happen. In some games it can be had, and in some games it's not. So
I never knew that. That's
so
bizarre,
down to the individual clubs. Basically, if they wanted to have it in place or not. I think the home club, not even just the individual clubs themselves. I think because I think Kelly didn't have it in place for their game against Dumbarton, but like Celtic did, because they had a kind of dubious penalty given against St Mirren, I think, after a handball or something like that in the Scottish Cup last week. So it's up to the clubs themselves. I think the home clubs could pay for it if they wanted to. So
that's ridiculous, in my opinion. They should have the same rules for each.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it, obviously. I mean, we're going to come out to Darvel next, but we've seen it in the Aberdeen Darvel game. We'll just do that now. Aberdeen obviously lost to Darvel and 1-0 at Recreation Park of Windermere and BBC. And I mean, firstly, an amazing result for Darvel. I mean, absolutely got to give them all the plaudits. We're like here, we talk about them a lot, and as a West of Scotland punter, I'd say that it can obviously sticks in your throat a little bit when with Darvel, because of what they are and sometimes how they act and behave and things like that. You kind of don't like. You see them as the kind of maybe the villains of the league, but I mean, absolutely got to applaud them for that. What a result!
Yeah, I was delighted for them. I did notice we got media accreditation for it, which is a bit weird. But I heard you were meant to go to the game, Benny. So
I had to pull out very last minute, but we had representation there on our behalf, shall we say, who covered the game for us. But it was I didn't quite make it. But we did talk about just previously talked about the Scottish Cup there, and obviously Aberdeen had a goal disallowed for an offside, which was like 2 or 3 yards onside easily. And like we were saying about VAR, it wasn't in place for the Darvel Aberdeen game because the cost, I think, primarily, but probably infrastructure to get it in place would probably be a little bit more harder at Recreation Park. But the rules are that you can have it if you want it, but if you don't, then it's fine. And certainly, it has to, for me, it has to be consistent. Let's be realistic. Aberdeen should be beating Darvel without the need of VAR, and it's not as if VAR is the reason that they got beat, because they were poor, and Darvel were excellent and matched them and played in the front foot for the full game and literally didn't see, once they got the goal, I didn't see anything else but Darvel win, because it just felt that Aberdeen were so poor and Darvel were so good. And I was surprised to see Jim Goodwin not get the sack on Monday night. I'm surprised they waited till yesterday, and obviously they got pumped off of Hibs, but certainly you should just back them on Tuesday. I don't understand why that didn't happen, but yeah, immense credit to Darvel. They've got Falkirk in the next round, and
think they'll be VAR of that game? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think it'll be one that they'll be the same. I think I don't expect to be able to do that. But that's a winnable tie for me. I think Falkirk. The only difference is it comes with different kind of pressure, because they're probably now expected to win that. Not expected to win that game, but certainly it's much more of an even contest given the previous results in the competition. But certainly don't see no reason why Darvel can't win that.
I saw that Falkirk signed Archie Meekinson, who a player I really rate.
Player.
I think he could cause trouble to Darvel. I think they signed another boy that's fairly decent. So Falkirk are looking at a Scottish Cup tie, I think, with that in mind. I mean, they probably need the money. Let's not be too unrealistic here. Obviously, with Falkirk are, I think, in dire straits. So good Scottish Cup run. They'll need it. Darvel, yeah, full credit to them in that game. I mean, Mick Kennedy's obviously his speech is going around doing the rounds. I think people have added inspirational music and stuff like that, that sort of thing. But one thing we never actually touched on, Ben, obviously Mick was on open goal. Have you seen the latest Broomhill documentary? I've not actually watched it.
I've not watched it. It just seems out this morning, but I'll catch it at some point tonight or tomorrow maybe. But
we never touched on them, obviously, because they weren't playing at the weekend,
But moving on into the West of Scotland League, we've talked about Darvel. We'll go straight to them again, and brought back down to reality. I think we'll say with a 3-2 defeat against Atherley, 2-0 up at half time. You'd have thought Darvel were out of sight to a team like Atherley at half time, but fair play to Atherley, bounce back, get 3 goals, get the points, and that allows Beath to go top.
I saw it. I saw a wee bit of. I don't know if it was just a feeling, but around the social media, it's like Arthurley seemed really up for that Darvel game. I don't know what it was, but I could have saw them getting the result. Not people won't believe me, but I'm not saying I win. But I did feel like Arthurley were really up for that Darvel game, and I don't know why. I think it was just the lead up. You saw kind of things on social media, and you're thinking they might get a point here, but to get all 3 is fantastic for them. I'm sure the hangover for Darvel was obviously the cup. Probably not in the best condition, but yeah, back down to earth. Obviously, you still need to secure the West of Scotland Premier League, guys.
Well, that's it. I think we'll move on into Beath, who beat Pollok 1-0. Beath are absolutely flying within the top of the West Scotland Premier League. Darvel obviously have a game in hand, and we know the games in hand are important, and I think it'll be the Darvel started to play each other twice this season. I don't think they've played yet. So, I mean, technically all to play for Beath. Can they do it? I just feel that squad that Darvel have are just too good and too strong personally. I better watch what I'm saying in case Chris Strain's listening, because he'll think I don't know a football from a banana or something. He'll say that about me, but I don't want him to think that. But certainly, if any team can win it, for me, it's between Auchinleck, Darvel, Beath. I think Auchinleck are a team that are probably not out of it, personally.
Yeah.
They've got a few games in hand now, and with Darvel dropping points, that's probably massive for their kind of title aspiration. We probably were talking about them in September, October, as if they were well out of it, not a chance of winning the title, but they're back. They've got the form, they're winning every week. Like just to say, like Beath having both teams are 6 wins now, and it's going to be interesting at the top of the table, but for me, I think Darvel's going to be too strong.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about their depth. A key injury or suspension at like a club like Beath or even Auchinleck, I don't think are that. They don't have a lot of depth now, in my opinion, not as much as they had previously. So that kind of get these players in bubble wrap, I guess, for Straney, I guess. But no, they're doing fantastically well. Not really a shock though, because I think we both rated Straney as a manager. Obviously, I'm a lot more well than I do, obviously being the former Buffs manager. But I'm not a shock that he's doing well, but certainly top of the league. I probably wasn't expecting that.
No, I mean he absolutely knows how to win football matches. He's tactically very good. He's a great coach and gets a tune out of his players. And he's made some good signings. I think that's the thing. You look at his squad. He's improved that B squad significantly from what it was the last season. He's obviously got a few players there from before. We've talked about Josh Fowler a number of times on this podcast. You get posters, you get DVDs, you get everything about Josh Fowler. And he's flying as well, scoring goals every week. And Straney's also got him playing. And Straney being a forward himself and will help him. I've probably helped him coach him through and get him better. But the one thing you would worry would be is someone like maybe Josh Fowler getting a move to in the next couple of days up the leagues. I'm surprised, but I guess not surprised in the sense that the Bees probably got one eye on trying to win this league and they need a guy like Josh Fowler on their team, and they're probably not in a position where they have to sell him. You'd be selling him to give the boy a chance to move up the leagues. And if Josh buys into what's happening in the B and thinks they can do it, then why would they not stick around and try and win a title?
The thing about Josh is I've probably not seen a lot of highlights recently, but as you know, I watch absolutely everything I can. But for me, his strengths is just his change of pace, and it reminds me a lot of
ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely.
It reminds me a lot of Nathan Austin, what he was like at Kelty. I mean, that's sometimes it's a kind of hidden attribute for strikers, that turn of pace and how they move their legs and that. And Josh has got a lot of quality there, and obviously he can score goals as well, which helps.
I think that's something he's added to his game for me. I think over this season, I think I've seen him previously. He always did have that pace. He had the engine, the legs for days, but the goal scoring thing was maybe a little bit kind of second to that a lot of time. But he's found goal scoring this season. While that's playing with the good players, like you probably got a guy like Carlo Monti who's probably putting them on a plate for him. He's still a talented player at this level of football, and he's creating chances. There's other guys in that team that can do it. He brought in the likes of Deck Hughes, Blair Rossa, that look like great additions, and they're all kind of providing those kind of assists and making the goals for a guy like Josh, and he'll be pivotal to their season. One guy we haven't mentioned even is Andy Monk, another player that we know from the Lowland League in Broomhill, and he's come in and is going great guns as well at B. And they've got good players. That's the thing, and I think that'll be the one interesting. The one thing in B don't have is cup competitions. They're out of every cup at this point. So their only focus is the league. So they won't have that distraction and that kind of inconsistency of playing League Cup like that some of the teams will be doing, certainly within the kind of top, the likes of Auchinleck and Dav will also have the Scottish Cup to think about. I think they're out the other two cups, although they weren't playing the West Scotland Cup, but they might still be in the Junior Cup. But I think the fact that they're not in cups either, but they've got the Scottish Cup, which is obviously massive for Darvel. But it'll be an interesting end. I say end. We're still going to play halfway through the season in the West of Scotland because there's so many league games still to play. But interesting one certainly.
The key is confidence. I see a confident side in Beef when I do watch the highlights, and I think that makes a massive difference in my opinion to how teams perform.
I've not seen a lot of Beef highlights personally. I think the media guy's been sunning himself in Gran Canaria or something like that for the last few weeks. Callum loves a holiday, but he does a great highlight package. I must admit, but a shout out. Like to stick with the media union amongst the West of Scotland, and he does a great package. So I'm sure he'll be back soon. He'll be next one then. Glenafton 3, Kirkintark Rob White 0. A good one for Glenafton. They're a team that probably struggled a wee bit. I mean, they are sitting kind of mid-table at the moment, but that's kind of have played a few more games than most, certainly. But Rob Roy, since Maxie left, look like they're kind of going down the way, and obviously that's been a difficult one. The new man just came in and not really getting that kind of getting going. I think they're still trying to find their feet a little bit, but they'll just be looking to try and stay up at this point in time. Rob Roy can go again. Hopefully, they're still waiting to find out about that ground and things like that. So they'll get to try and sort that out. But yeah, an interesting one as ever. But Glenafton, I think for me, still not a great side. And I know I'm saying that as being involved in Colin and may not be brilliant at the moment, but from what I've seen so far this year, it's one of the teams that it does surprise me a little bit that they did get a decent result. Irvine medal to Troon 1. Back to winning ways for Irvine medal. They were struggling a little bit over the last few games since the turn of the year, but back winning. Troon still kind of lingering at the bottom. The team were struggling with a bit of form as well. Certainly.
Yeah, we kind of touched on Troon, obviously. Since the new managers came in at Meda, they've really picked up. Not so much recently, but certainly the results have certainly been better since the start of the season. Troon, yeah, we kind of talked about. I got a wee bit of stick, obviously, because I mentioned obviously some places like Largs. I think we talked about it. Obviously, Largs kind of out the way. And then someone brought up, why don't you mention the same to Troon or these sort of places? I'm thinking to myself, but we're talking about Largs. I'm not talking about Troon. I'm just saying it's a wee bit out of the way for Largs. If I was talking about, like, in general, I would obviously mention Troon and all these other places.
Troon is much closer to, like, Glasgow. Like, down the M77, it's about half an hour away. Largs, you're talking about half an hour, then another half an hour on to Largs. So whoever said that is...
Yeah, I got a wee bit of stick.
Personally...
I even had I brought out the map of the clubs and stuff, and Largs is clearly out of the way compared to some other clubs.
I think towards Greenock, it's like up that route.
I think someone was just obviously a Largs fan, and I'm happy for you. So I like Largs.
He's a massive Largs fan. This guy.
Exactly. So, but I'm just I think we mentioned it on the podcast, obviously, but Troon probably have them issues too. But again, I didn't think it was that. I think it's a fair comment that they are a wee bit out of the way, but not as much as Largs. But I don't know what that was about. It was just mental that someone. But I guess that's social media. You say something and people jump on it, or one person jumps on it, and you're like, "What the hell's going on?" But no, yeah. Of course, I like Largs. So, but yeah, Troon struggling. Obviously, we've heard a lot about Sam Jameson, obviously the elite striker and stuff like that, and it's I don't know what's happening, because we used to say that in kind of jest because they were doing really well and sort of the last few seasons, but now to this season it's just not really working out for them for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on really. We don't even say things like that in jest now because they are not doing that great, and obviously we certainly on this podcast we try not to kick anyone when they're down. We could, or maybe guess we could go in on Edinburgh Uni and Dalbeattie every week, but we're not them type of people.
I think though, just to caveat that, when someone does call you out and say like, why have you not picked this guy for your team of the year, and then he has a season like he's had, then I mean, for me, justifiably so. He wasn't in the team last year, and I've not seen any. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but Sam Jameson, I don't think is just the top scoring Sam in the Troon side. I think Sam McCloskey has more goals than Sam Jameson. I think they don't have another striker. I think that's a problem. When you look at them, they're struggling to score goals all over the park. Sam McCloskey, I think, is a left back, maybe playing centre midfield. I'm not too sure, but certainly from what I've seen of Troon, that Sam Jameson isn't the guy that he's cracked up to be. He's decent enough at this level. He'll do a job for probably most teams, but you want more from him if he is as good as certainly the coaching staff think. But yeah, Troon will be fine. I think they're a team that still got the games in hand, like we've said. I think that's massively important, and we'll touch on the games in hand probably at the end of this at some point. But yeah, I think Troon they'll get going eventually, and they'll be just fine. Talking about team in trouble, Petershill losing 2-0 to Auchinleck Talbot. Petershill looked down and out for me. Talbot flying again. They've got the form. They've got getting the wins on the board. They're keeping clean sheets. They're doing everything right. But Petershill look in a bad way.
Yeah, we've not. In fairness, I don't think we've given them much faith since the start of the season, and it does look really concerning for them. Obviously, Auchinleck, you expect them to win that game regardless of how good they've been. I think they're going under the radar a wee bit. Like we had a lot to say about them, sort of that middle patch where they were going through what we perceived as a rough time. But that's what football is like. I mean, we could be on this podcast talking about such and such is going through a rough time, and then suddenly 2, 3, 4, 5 results, and they're back in it. You know what I mean? That's the nature of football, I guess. Sometimes.
Yeah, I think our team in that position would be Clydebank. They kind of went through a rough spell at the start of the season. They got a win yesterday, 2-0 against Cambuslang Rangers. Another team struggling at the bottom of the table, Cambuslang. But I think it was Moff's post-match interview this morning. I think he said they won 7 on the bounce in the league.
Amazing.
Which is it's great form and fired them right up the table. They've got multiple games in hand as well. And the likes of Portlock and Auchinleck, except not Auchinleck because Auchinleck have probably played the least games, but certainly they've got a few games in hand. I mean, I don't think for me this season Clydebank are going to win the league, but they've always been a good side. That there's no doubt about it, and we're probably a team that struggled a little bit, but they're bang on form. The guys like Alan Kelly and Connor Higgins they brought in from the amateurs have been great signings for Clydebank, and if you can find gems like that and to bolster your squad, I mean, you're on to a winner.
I was really impressed. Sorry to bring this back up because I watched the game obviously against Kilwinning, but Alan Kelly really impressed me that day. Really, and I noticed that he signed a contract extension recently, so really good. That's the type of thing I think Moff. I've not spoken to Moff loads behind the scenes, but you know I have kind of chatted to him, and I think Moff is very aware of good players, all different types of levels. I'll give him credit there. I think, if you're looking at a team to go to in terms of being well backed and well supported and a bit of history in that, Clydebank are probably a really good club for anyone to want to play their football. So they have that certainly for them, going for them, I should say. And Moff, I really rate Moff. I really like him as a person and as a manager. So it'll be interesting to see how far they can go this season. But certainly, I wouldn't rule them out in future seasons. You can never rule out teams like Clydebank or obviously the usual suspects will always be there. Your Darvilles, your Pollocks, and your Auchinlecks. But certainly teams like Clydebank now, Beef. Hopefully, Kilwinning in the future as well.
In the future, definitely.
Sorry to add that.
No, I mean it's fine. We'll touch on that last, I'm sure. The other game then, Cumnock Juniors 0, Largs Thistle 1. Obviously, Cumnock coming off the back of a 5-2 victory over ourselves, Kilwinning Rangers on Wednesday night. They probably thought that was the game that was going to kind of spark them back into life because they've been toiling. I think Cumnock over the last weeks and months, and certainly didn't expect them to lose against Largs. It was a goal, I think, right to the death, but I think it sounds like they kind of struggled yesterday. But
I gave a wee bit of a celebratory sort of thing. I shouldn't have done that. No favouritism, but that's massive 3 points for Largs. Really, really decent result. I think, given the fact that I really rate Cumnock. It's a really decent side of Jordan Muir's. Always, in amongst the goals, I've got a few against Kilwinning the other midweek. I'm sorry to. I feel like
it's fine.
I feel like I'm paying you at the moment, but
I left the game at 0-0 on Wednesday night. Unfortunately for us, Regan O'Sullivan had a clash with one of the Cumnock players, and they twisted his knee, and looks like he's done potentially ACL. MCL, I think meniscus, I think is waiting for scan results. So Lauren and I had to take him to hospital because unfortunately the way the world is with the NHS and the ambulance service, etc., they weren't able to send an ambulance, so someone had to get him to hospital. We obviously knew it was a serious injury, so I left the game at 0-0, and I was like,
missed it. Yeah,
we played for the 25 minutes I've seen of the game. We played well, and next thing we know, I got a text at half time. It was 5-0, and I didn't know nothing about the game. And I mean, we'll touch on Kilwinning in general, but I took a bit of stick, I think, online myself for not updating the results and the scores. But I was in a position where that boy had to go to hospital, and I could do it. I didn't know anything about the game, and that frustrates me a little bit because it feels like a bit of a personal attack on me and suggestions of hiding results and trying to deliberately being silent about the game, and that's not me as a person. We've been beating off Auchinleck, we've been beating off Darvel, we've been off Clydebank, and tweeted all the game, tweeted the highlights, post-match interviews. It's not something I had done deliberately, and that was what I think kind of pissed me off a little bit, was the kind of comments from some Buffs fans.
Behind the scenes, I never even knew that. I wouldn't have brought it up otherwise, but I honestly didn't know that either. So yeah, no, it's a difficult one, but yeah, we always say it, and I think it's fair to say, and it's the same with clubs, players, and everything. I mean, someone's health is probably more important than tweeting something. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that was the important thing for me, was the physio, the current physio guy. Mentioned her, Laura Wilson. She was brilliant in support of Regan when he did get injured. Our physio wasn't able to make it on Wednesday night, so she was brilliant. She knew her stuff, and she was very good at her job, and made sure
she was at SPF. Was it Clyde?
East Fife, I think, maybe.
It was East Fife,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
decent, very good at her job, and suggested she was one to say you need to take him to hospital. And that was all we could think about as a club. Personally, and Lauren as a club secretary, we're really caring people, and to me, football didn't matter at that point. At that point, he needed our help and needed support. His parents lived in Glasgow; they weren't there at the game to take him, and we had a duty of care to one of our players. And just that annoyed me, because I say I do this for free, and I don't make much money out of football. And,
I honestly, you never even said anything in the chat of that. I mean, a lot of people might think that we talk about absolutely everything and how we plan things or whatever, but sometimes like I could be speaking to you, Ben. I've not spoken to you, the whole week, or maybe we've not talked about certain things. So I learn things through this podcast as well. Totally. I never knew about that.
It's starting. I mean, it's one of those ones that I think probably in a bit of frustration from the Buffs fans. And, it's maybe a little bit. I took it quite hard, because I pride myself on what I do and my job I do at the club. But anyway, we move on to talking of Cowan Rangers. The final game of the week was Cowan Rangers 2, Hereford United 2. Plenty to talk about there, Chrissy.
Yeah, I guess in terms of the result, probably not. I wouldn't say a bad result, considering the way kind of both teams have been recently. But obviously, Gorms. Well, you know this yourself, Ben, but Gorms is been relieved of his duties or resigned or whatever. I don't know. I read the statement too.
Parted company. I think
parted company. I was trying to find the words there, because obviously it's different words there. But I actually feel sorry for Gorms in a sense, because he done really well at Rossvale. He went into a really tough position at Broomhill. I think he was always. My impression there was he always was kind of like, oh, we'll get him in to steady the ship until almost like someone better comes along, replacing, Stephen Swift, who was there for years, had done a really good job with BSC Glasgow previously. And then he's went to the Buffs. With all due respect, I think, it was probably a wee bit better position than what Broomhill were at the start of that season when he took over with trying to get players in. But it did seem like a similar situation in terms of rebuilding a squad, similar situation in the fact that Shraney was there for the Buffs for years. Gorms had it really tough in terms of his last few clubs. I don't know in terms of... I kind of rate him as a manager. Results have probably not been that great in terms of the Buffs this season. There was a lot of games in hand, as well as what you mentioned, a lot of football to play. But, I mean, you'll know more than me in terms of how it's went down, in terms of how it's played out. I do feel sorry in the sense that I think there's been a lot of injuries and suspensions at the Buffs. Obviously you mentioned Regan O'Sullivan. Player that's not just recently joined and he's injured already, and then there's been other injuries. So I think Gorms has had it really tough, and he obviously when he was at Broomhill, he had his whole coaching staff. I think Mikey Dunlop, and then he kind of went his own way, sort of thing. So losing your singing a second in charge as well is not ideal as a manager. So I do feel sorry for Gorms in a sense that I think he's been in two tough jobs. But I think he'll bounce back. But again, you've probably got more to say on it than me, Ben. But that's just my thoughts with Gorms in terms of the last sort of few spells he's had in management.
No, I mean, firstly, I think from my perspective, I got on really well with Gorms, and got to know him over the last kind of I think was it 8 months or so, really well. I classed him as a friend, and it was great to work with him. He knew the form wasn't good enough as a club, especially in the league. We were doing well in cup competitions, but I think the majority of the committee decided or felt that the performances and the results just weren't good enough, and they didn't see that him as a person that was going to take that forward and improve that. We mentioned the games in hand. For me, I think they were key to where the league table would have been sitting in the league table. I mean, obviously at the start of the season we're talking about potentially trying to win a league and being at the top. We were realistic enough now to know that wasn't us. But unfortunately, the way the world is, and with committees and things like that, that's how it works. If there's a vote on the manager and the majority wins, then there's not a lot you can do. And then, as you say, got a lot of time for him. I'll keep in touch with him out with football, and he will come back again and he'll do a job somewhere else. I have no doubts about that. Same way as coaching staff. His coaching staff are great at the club. I mean, I've seen a few comments in the last kind of couple of days from a couple of the coaches that were involved in Twitter and things like that, which I think personally is quite petty and quite childish. A side I didn't see of either of them. I thought they were better than that. I think.
What was it? Just a wee back and forth, or?
Yeah, just a bit kind of digs at the club and digs at the committee and things like that, which I think was poor. I just think in these situations you're better to keep your counsel and keep your powder dry. But
you're used to you're used to that surely. Well, the carry on, point deductions and whatever else.
No, I mean totally,
not that makes it right.
I think when you've left that club, I feel like it's just a wee bit poor. I think you can do it better and a bit more dignified in the situation. Gorm's took it well. I've spoke to him a couple of times since he left on Thursday, or Friday rather. Sorry for those who read the statement. It was certainly Thursday. It was, and we had to bring in, and he's gutted. Obviously, I absolutely know that, and I think he probably could have turned it around. But you see, it's done now, and we move on. And in terms of us as a club, we'll be looking to appoint a new manager. We've brought in what we've called a leadership group in the shape of Dal Mack and Thomas Collins, Kevin Nicol, and goalkeeping coach Davy Wilson. However, on Saturday, Chris Miller was back in the dugout and supporting, and I think Chris will probably take interim charge for the next couple of weeks while we assess. We've got, a good number of candidates already in. Have applied for the job, so personally, that was my thinking around it. Was if we are going to go with them, then what is the plan? And we didn't really have that in place, but we're now not talking to people yet, but we're seeing names coming through and seeing people linked for the job, and it's it'll be an interesting couple of weeks, and certainly it'll be a busy couple of weeks for myself and Lauren, because I think we'll be quite involved in that process.
Yeah, I wasn't going to press you too much, but obviously I did read the club statement. Swift appointments and all this sort of stuff. Is that you kind of hinting at who might be the next manager? No,
that was a Freudian slip on my part when I wrote the statement. I was working and I had literally 10 minutes, 15 minutes to write the statement in my lunch hour, and I just wrote that line, and certainly I know what you're referring to in the shape of Stephen Swift, but he's certainly not a manager that will be coming to the bus. I can assure anyone of that. If anyone's wondering, that was just coincidence more than anything else. But I would say it'll be interesting to see. There's been a few names floating about. There's a few people at the game on Saturday as well that I believe are interested in the job. So yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be, as I say, hectic probably for us over the next couple of weeks as we try and find the right appointment.
Yeah. I wasn't going to push you too much on that, but obviously that was an interesting sort of. It was pointed out by a few people that
multiple people did. Yeah, I got a few texts straight off the bat. What's this? Is this it? I'm like, nah, nothing to do with it. And I don't think the other one I keep hearing is Chris James going to come back, but he's sitting.
I think you might have said that earlier, but just to wish David Gormley all the best. I don't think I said it on Twitter or that at the time, so I think I was working or whatever. But yeah, all the best to Gorms, and whatever happens next, hopefully he'll be back in management soon. And obviously Swifty as well. I think we might have mentioned obviously with Stenhouse Muir and that. He's probably taking a break at the moment, but hopefully all the best to him when he's back in management. He's too good to stay out of the game, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, that pretty much concludes it then for us on the podcast this week. Thanks all for watching or listening. Get us on Twitter, Official Catchup, YouTube, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, all that good stuff that you've got to do for the old YouTube. And we'll be back, I'm sure, next week with another episode talking about all your favourite non-league and Lowland League action. Cheers.